Let's go ahead and get started. I do want to be mindful of time and make sure that we have enough time for everybody's questions. If there were questions after we run through, if you guys feel comfortable throwing those cameras on, please feel free. If not, totally understand. It's a Friday morning, so I get it. We will go ahead and get started here. So this is the GSLMU question and answer session, the graduate students of LMU. So we are the student body who represent the respective colleges in the LMU grad school, and we obviously are the liaisons between the grad students and between administration on all different levels. So we're going to run through what GSLMU is, what we kind of handle when it comes to how we interact with students and how we interact with admin, and then we'll just open the floor for questions. If you guys have questions specifically about GSLMU or anything about grad programs, I think I can speak for all of us who are here that we're happy to answer. I know you guys are ending the week of your grad summit, and so if there are questions that you still have that haven't been answered in any of the other sessions that you've been to so far, feel free to use us as resources as we move forward. Alrighty, so this is obviously, as I mentioned, GSLMU, the open house. So getting into what GSLMU is, so it's the official graduate student governance of LMU. So as you can see, I'm not going to read through every single one of these bullet points because I know you guys are all pretty capable of doing that yourself. But really our purpose is to promote a just educational landscape, support the diverse needs of our fellow students, and to ensure that the most marginalized voices are heard. So oftentimes what we do is we meet on a regular basis as a board and also as a larger group of everybody who's involved in GSLMU. And we really truly just want to hear what students are feeling, how they are going through their different programs, and maybe what concerns have come up and how we as a larger group can really make changes to the problems that are arising in the grad student experience. So our identity is rooted in empowering graduate students. We really just want to be that extra layer of support for them. I'm going to go through just and give a quick introduction of who's on this call so you guys can see who you're chatting with. My name is Evan Drucker. I am currently in my second year of the MBA program here at LMU, and I'm currently serving as the senator for the College of Business Administration. And then we'll just run through if you guys just want to follow along so that I don't have to call on you. I always feel like that's so awkward via Zoom. So if you guys want to just follow along, give a little introduction and let us know where you are and who you are.
Hi, I'm Aquelia, the Senator for School of Film and Television, specifically in writing and producing for TV. It's my first year here, and I would love to be in LA, but I'm currently in Chicago, which is my hometown.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm the Unity University Representative for Disability Support Services, and I'm currently in LA. Though I've only been to campus once for the open house.
Awesome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sharon. I'm the senator for the law school. The law school is located in downtown Los Angeles, which is where I am currently living. Unfortunately, I actually have never been to the main LMU campus, but I hear it's very beautiful.
Hi everyone, my name's Maeve. I'm currently the senator for the School of Education, and I'm getting my master's in higher education administration. And I'm in Redondo Beach, so just probably 20 minutes away from LMU's campus. Also hoping to finally get on. I haven't been on since undergrad school.
Gotcha. So as you guys can see, many of us have either started or have continued our education during this COVID madness. I personally attended LMU as an undergrad, so I've had the privilege of being on campus for quite a while. I started my program approximately 6 weeks before the entire world shut down, so I was able to do some online classes or some in-person classes before shifting to online. If you guys do have questions about what that shift has looked like, or really what we're trying to experience and how we're moving forward in that, please feel free to ask those questions as we move forward. So as we do go into the question portion of our day, feel free to ask questions that are either specific to specific schools, or if you wanted to ask a question to all of us at large, then that's totally fine. We'll try to field them as best we can and get those answers going, okay? So with that said, we're ready for questions. If you guys had any questions about what GSLMU is or different questions that you're feeling are coming up, please feel free. You can either type them into the chat box and we can answer them, or if you wanted to turn your camera on or just unmute and go ahead and start out. The first one's always the most awkward, right? If not, if there aren't any questions, what I can do is I can just start asking our panelists just like a handful of questions. Maybe if you guys wanted to discuss how oh, here, we've got a question in the chat box. Coming into grad school late, have family and kids, etc. Is anyone in that situation can offer advice on how to achieve balance? So do we have anybody on our panel who does have kids? Don't think so. Can anybody speak? So I know there are individuals in my classes that are in that same boat. They have kids. Some of them have newborns. Some of them have kids who are teenagers. And so watching them being able to balance things, I think the depending on what program you're interested in, Nicole, different programs meet at different times. So the MBA is typically 2 nights a week, which is what you're going to look at. It's going to be 3 hours that happen 2 nights a week. And really after that, it's up to you as to how much time you can dedicate to it in regards to after the fact, like once you're not in class, the asynchronous work. I think that from my experience, and I don't have kids, so I can't say that it's easy, but I have seen people do it successfully. And I do think that there is room for that balance. So does anybody else have suggestions or has seen that happen?
I don't personally know anyone that has kids or like a family that they have to take care of, but at the law school, they do have a dedicated evening program. And so I'm not sure if whatever program you might be joining, Nicole, if they might have accommodations like that. So my co-senator Amy, who's not here today, she's an evening student at the law school because she works full time throughout the day. So all of her classes are in the evening. And I know that's been very helpful because they're on kind of like a different track than the rest of everyone else. Like they don't have to finish as quickly as everyone else because the school will accommodate for the fact that they do work most of the day.
Totally. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next question that we've got. So how do you join GSLMU? So GSLMU is there are a balance of elected positions as well as appointed positions. So in order to run, actually we're currently in the election season right now. That's not to say that there won't be open spots once you get to the fall semester. So if you do want to run for a position, there are 5 cabinet positions. You can either you can declare your candidacy and then go through an elections period. They will be doing elections at the end of this month. And then once those elected officials are there, then they appoint other officials. So getting involved was fairly easy. From my experience, I actually ran uncontested to be the senator for CBA as of right now, which was kind of surprising to me. But it is very easy. And also, if you aren't elected or if you aren't appointed to a specific position, there are other ways to continue to get involved. There are various committees that you can serve on, in addition to other ways to getting involved in different events and stuff that happen. Did anybody else how did you guys feel about getting involved in GSLMU? Did you feel like it was on the easier side? What are you guys thinking?
Well, I mean, for me, like coming in as a first year, especially for our school, which a lot of times we need to be in person for production, I just want to make sure that people who are working on sets or not able to work on sets were able to just kind of have a voice about how we would do virtual production and what that would look like for us. So I wanted to make sure that we had some representation for that instance, just so we can have our films be made the way we wanted to.
Awesome. So does GSLMU offer any financial aid or scholarship tips for grad students? That definitely is something that we attempt to provide, if nothing else, knowledge for students onto how to get financial aid. They do offer specific scholarships that will reimburse you if you travel for different conferences. There are different aids that you can sign up for. Recently, GSLMU instituted a COVID relief package for students. So if you have felt different varying effects of COVID, or you've had to purchase things so that you can do your classes online, you can apply for this grant. It's $100 that we're granting to students. So that's definitely something that we've tried to help with as much as we can. And we like to be a good guideline for getting in touch with the right avenues if you're interested in getting other financial aid. But definitely looking for more tips and stuff to make sure that students feel that they're confident in going forward with what they need to accomplish. In contrast to Nicole's question, have the grad programs ever had younger students than typical? So I'm not entirely sure, Elizabeth, if you're meaning like, I think younger is kind of a relative term, but I think in my program specifically, there are students who are just immediately out of their undergrad, graduated in May and started in the fall. And there are also students who are on the other end of the spectrum, have families, are more established in their careers. So that's definitely for the MBA school. I'm not sure how other programs are looking, if you guys wanted to shed some light on that.
Yeah, I'm straight out of undergrad. I finished my undergraduate degree in June, and then my summer, since it was a quarter school, then my summer session start for my program at LMU was later in June. So I literally had a 2-week break between finishing undergrad and beginning grad school, which was a little bit different with the way we were online. It sort of just felt like I was continuing through. And since I didn't have an in-person graduation, the lines were sort of blurred there. But my program is pretty mixed. We have a few people who are also the same age as me right out of undergrad. And we also have people who have been out for a while and have worked for 10 or 15 years and are now coming back to continue their education. And so it's interesting because I do feel like I learn from them, but I don't think that I'm any worse off being right from undergrad. And I do think that there's skills you can take with you being younger, you know, like having recently been in school, we're up to date with, you know, APA or MLA, we're more up to date with just the recent sort of school technologies in a way. Like I know that Quizlet and things that are so obvious for people who are just finishing undergrad are not as obvious for people who are 10 or 15 years older. And that's something that I've realized being in a cohort with older people. So that's just my perspective on it.
What's the breakdown of the law school like?
So the breakdown of the law school, I'd say, is pretty mixed as well. I've seen a lot of the older students tend to be what's called an LLM student, and they're usually international students who actually have a law degree in their home country, and they come to Loyola to get what's called a master's of law. But a lot of people did come straight out of undergrad and into law school. I took a little bit of time off, like not even a full year, so not that much time off, but I do know people who came immediately after, and they're about like 22, and they're in the same year as me, and I'm 25. So there is a mix for sure within the law school, but maybe not as much.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so moving on to Carly's question, does Loyola's admissions board for graduate programs judge resume gaps? So I'd like to preface this with none of us work for admissions. None of us are in that world. So I would say that we can't answer that with full efficiency, but I would say from my understanding, each individual application is looked at specifically. I know each different school that you're applying for is going to have different requirements, or maybe some require certain tests, some require certain essays and whatnot. In my experience, the admissions process was fairly accommodating, and I actually did apply twice for the MBA program because I wasn't eligible the first time that I applied and had to take the GRE, and then came back and was able to be admitted after that. I'm not sure. I would say that because it is a private school and they're not just looking at your Common App, that they will ask for an explanation of that, and so you could very easily explain that or talk to why that maybe exists on your application or on your resume. But like I said, we don't work for admissions, so I can't with full efficiency answer that question, unfortunately. What made you choose LMU, and was it a more affordable option than other schools you applied to? So I'm going to go ahead and field that to everybody else first so that we can hear the different schools.
I can take that first since I see that someone asked like right under that kind of a similar question for me. So hi Daisy. For me, I chose LMU specifically for my program. And I know you're doing writing and producing for TV as well. I wanted the professors who taught me about film and television to kind of, I wanted them to match the Hollywood that I wanted to see as far as like diversity in story, diversity in race, diversity in women who are in leadership. And LMU was the one that had the most diverse set of professors that I had seen in schools across the board. And they also had professors who were actively working in Hollywood as well and had the connections and the expertise that would make me better. So for me, that was just a no-brainer.
So I actually applied and got accepted as well to Laverne, and I'm also in the higher ed admin program with Maeve. Technically, yes, LMU was slightly more affordable, but that's also because I think our program is just over the minimum requirements for credit units that you need to have a master's program. So I think it truly depends on what what program you're going into to look at costs, what the program is offering, the connections it offers within that program. Because for me, my focus for career-wise wanted to be in higher education, and similar programs offered at other schools generally have a K through 12 focus. So that might also be something that you want to look at and consider.
For me, I chose Loyola Law School because I knew that I wanted to live and work in Los Angeles, and the law school has a very, very good reputation within the LA community. I remember even before I decided that I was going to Loyola, I think I was still applying to law schools, and I would tell people, "Oh, I really want to go to Loyola," and just everyone knew what that was already. And so I wanted to come here for the reputation.
Yeah, I think that what LMU really focuses on is creating involved programs. So the MBA program, similar to the law school, is starting to be very well known in the Los Angeles area. And knowing that I wanted to stay in LA was important to me. So getting that connection to real life businesses is something that was really important. The MBA program also offers in non-COVID world, as I'm sure you guys have heard, if that's what you're interested in, international opportunity. And so that was definitely something that struck my attention when I was looking at different programs. I think that LMU does try to stay very competitive. And when you look at the what you're getting for the cost of each program, I can say, I'm not sure for other schools, but I've never been in a class with more than like 25 students, which that kind of one-on-one attention from professors is also really helpful, that you're really truly getting a lot for your dollar, and it's going really far within these programs. So how long did it take for you to find out your admission status? I think that's obviously directed towards School of Education. So maybe do you want to field that one?
Yeah, so I applied pretty late. It was just the pandemic. I had original plans to take a gap year, so they were accommodating in emailing me back really quick with all my questions and allowing me to turn in my application due to the pandemic and the circumstances. But I do believe all SOE applications are on a rolling basis. So usually that's like 2-ish weeks before you find out about an interview, and then you interview, and then maybe a week or two later, you get your decision. It's pretty fast, which is nice.
Awesome. Can you guys each speak to how you prepared for your application? Let's go ahead and field that question now. So how you prepared and if you felt like it was competitive or what you felt that way.
I can go. So on my end, there's a lot of writing that has to take place, especially for the major that I have. So it was really a lot of self-reflection, and we had to do videos that, explained our story, whatever the prompt was at some point. But for me, like I had LMU when I was applying to more schools in LMU, I would just have them all kind of visually like on a big post-it and like just did requirements from there, and just made sure that I was meeting everything and that I was answering things the way that I wanted to. But I feel like most importantly, whatever school you're applying to, but definitely when you're applying to a school that relies on your story in order to know who you are, definitely say the things that are authentic to you in whatever personal statements they're asking for, in whatever interviews you have. Say what's authentic to you, because that's really going to make a difference when it comes to deciding who's in and who isn't.
Totally.
One tip that I have for the law school, we had to have 3 letters of recommendation. So I feel like that's one thing that you could definitely start on early, like thinking about who knows you well enough, who you're able to build like a professional, but still have like that personal aspect with them. And so for me, when I was still an undergrad, that was kind of a big focus of mine on my last year, like joining programs where I knew that I'd be able to build a more personal connection with a professor. And so I don't think the professors are supposed to show you their letters of recommendation, but one of my professors did show me the letter of recommendation that he wrote for me. And it was a great letter. And so I think when you're applying to whatever program that may be, it is important to know, are my grades okay? Are my test scores okay? But don't forget about the extra stuff like that, like the letters of recommendation or whatever personal statement you have to do, because those hold a lot of weight as well.
Definitely. Alrighty. Yeah, I do think that that is definitely something that I found most important or impactful in your application process, is that yes, it is important to have these scores, and yes, it is important, but that's not the only thing that LMU is considering. And so making sure that you are, one, staying authentic to yourself, but two, putting a full picture together, right? LMU is kind of their whole mindset is the education of the whole person. And so it might be great that you had good grades, but that's not the only thing that they're going to consider in your application. Especially if you're further out of college, like that might be something that they really are going to weigh in your industry expertise and what you could bring to those classes. I can say that in the MBA program, most of our classes are run on a discussion base. And though we are learning, it is about that real life application. And so understanding where everybody's strengths come from. So definitely understanding that there is use to a well-rounded application instead of just ticking one box because that's what they're telling you to do. So for SFTV, are most grad students right out of their undergrad, or do you feel like they have worked in the industry? What are your kind of thoughts on that?
This is an interesting question, because I just want to put people's mind at ease, whether like you're asking questions about whether you think you're too young or like you have a lot of life experience and you may be considered older by someone else's standards. That doesn't matter. There's no penalty or prize for either one. You just have to come in and be good and be willing to learn. There are people in our programs who are like from 21 all the way up to 40 plus. And, like whoever is going to, we are really good at collaborating. So by the end of the day, everyone's gift's going to rise to the top no matter what age you are. So I'm saying that because when I first applied to grad school and was thinking about it, I was coming from teaching high school for 10 years and I thought that I was too old for that, but no one cares. We have to come in and like, we're going to be collaborative and it's going to be awesome no matter where you are on the age range scale.
I love that. I would echo that. I think in every one of our, even just in our GSLMU meetings, like there's such a range of ages, there's such a ranges of life experiences. And so if that's just like a small set of the grad students that LMU has, it's very true that there isn't one mold for a student at LMU. And so if you're thinking about this and it's something that you're passionate about, you're the right choice. Like that's what LMU is looking for. They're looking for students who are passionate about these different opportunities and about the things that they're trying to accomplish in their life. So don't feel like you're not fitting a mold, because there's not a mold to be fit, if that makes sense for you guys. Okay, so moving on, international opportunities offered at LMU. So what I meant was not an international exchange program specific to the MBA. So right now what they have is you take a course, it happens over the summer, usually after your second year. You would be doing, or in your second year, you would go to an international immersion project is more or less what it is. And this opportunity, I can't speak with expertise on it because I'm not actually partaking in that because of COVID. But what previous students have done is that they are taken, they're escorted to specific companies that work with the MBA program. And so you can learn more about international application of business practices and stuff like that. There are other opportunities for international experiences at LMU. I know that they offer alternative breaks that you can attend, which are during spring break, you can go to less fortunate countries and help with different charity work. There are also opportunities. I don't believe that, and correct me if I'm wrong, if any of your programs do offer this, I don't believe that any of our grad programs offer specific semester abroad opportunities. I know the MBA does not. But there are options to get involved in different international opportunities if that's something that's important to you. It just might not coincide with exactly what your requirements are for the degree that you're seeking out. Were there any other questions that came up? I'm seeing that we're just 2 minutes shy of how much we were allotted. I believe this was supposed to be a 30-minute meeting. If you guys have more time, I have time, I can hang out. If you guys wanted to ask one-on-one questions, or if you're feeling like things are popping up, feel free to let us know. If not, I'm going to just switch to this next slide so you can see these are the remaining sessions that you guys have. So there's a library services resource so that you can attend that to find out what the William Hannon Library offers. And then at 12:30, there's National International Fellowships Office question and answer. So if you guys had any other questions, feel free to hang out. We'll be here for a couple of minutes. If not, thank you so much for coming and attending today. Wish you guys all the best in your application process and getting into LMU. Hopefully we'll all be on campus real soon.